Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Tuesday tip, where in this video we're going to be reviewing the Ezra Flats BMX pedal. So the Ezra Flats BMX pedal. This is a little bit different than what I normally do for a Tuesday tip and trick, but Robbie Taylor and the folks over at Eastern were nice enough to send a set of these pedals out for me to do a review on. So that's what we're going to do today. And when it comes to BMX pedals and doing a review on them, obviously I've never done one before, so I set up a little bit of criteria on how to judge these. The first thing is appearance, then we've got durability, and then last we've got the feel and the grip. And I would say that the appearance is something that is of arguable importance when it comes to a BMX pedal, but I would definitely say that most BMX riders would rather have a pedal that feels and grips great but doesn't last very long than they would a pedal that lasts forever but feels terrible and doesn't grip very well. So let's talk about appearance. In my opinion, these pedals look pretty good. They are extremely slim and they have a pretty decent sized platform on them, and the absence of a place for a pedal wrench on the spindle looks very clean when installed on the bike, even though it makes them a little bit harder to get tight enough because you can't use a pedal wrench to tighten them. Other than that, and since this is a review, I should mention that these pedals look exactly the same as a set of Deity pedals that I saw for sale at Ray's. However, the Deity pedals cost $50, whereas the Ezra Flats pedals cost $35. Now let's talk about durability. I'll start out by saying that I have thoroughly, completely, utterly, and absolutely beaten the crap out of these pedals, only to have them look like they're just a couple weeks old and haven't really been ridden that much. And at first, I was a little bit worried about breaking them pretty quickly or just destroying the pins, because I personally haven't had good luck with plastic pedals in the past, but these have been a pleasant surprise, honestly. The pins in them have lasted as well as they have. I mean, you're seeing it on screen right now. I have beaten the crap out of these pedals. They've held up to many different lucky and pedal stall variations, sometimes dropping into them very hard every single time I've ridden. And at this point, I've had them on my bike now for several months, punishing them to the point that I can say without a shadow of a doubt that these pedals are pretty darn durable. Now let's talk about the feel and the grip of these pedals. Obviously, with pins like the ones that are on these pedals, they're going to grip very well, and I didn't really notice anything as far as the platform goes. It was kind of just another pedal to me as far as the platform. But after all of these months and pedal stalls and lucky stalls and just beating the crap out of these pedals, like I said, the pins on these pedals are still in great shape and still grip very well. And you really don't have to have brand new shoes or good shoes with these pedals, because the pins on them do all of the work. But what I would recommend is that if you're going to ride these pedals, wear shin guards, because even just sitting on the bike and moving around on the bike, these things like to grab a hold of your jeans and put tiny little holes in them. So I can't imagine what these would do to a bare shin, and I don't want to see what these would do to a bare shin. So if you get these pedals, make sure you wear shin guards. The good thing about having pedals with gnarly pins on them like these is that you never really have to worry about trail dirt affecting your grip on the pedals. Taking your feet off is also extremely comfortable when you know that when you go to put them back on, the pedal is going to grab your shoe and not let go of it. I also never found my foot getting stuck to the pedals going into or coming out of any tricks whatsoever in my experience running these pedals. Another aspect of these pedals to mention is that they use sealed bearings. This is something that I didn't notice when I first put them on my bike, but for whatever reason, I switched back to my old pedals for a weekend, and that was when it became immediately obvious the difference between these sealed bearing pedals and my old unsealed bearing pedals. The smoothness is just unmatched. And at this point, these pedals have converted me, and I don't think that I could ever ride pedals without sealed bearings ever again, just because of how smooth and how good it feels to ride with pedals that have sealed bearings in them. So you might have noticed that I haven't really had anything bad to say about these pedals yet. Really, there's only 2, maybe 3 things that I have to say here. One of those being completely my fault, and the other being something that most people probably won't encounter or have affect them. So the first thing is that the pedal pins like to come loose on you extremely easily, and just from riding. This is something that I had to deal with all the time, and even just right now you can see that these ones are loose right here. We've got a loose one on the other side right here, and I always found myself having to tighten the pedal pins, but it's very easy to do if you keep tools on you. This shouldn't be a very hard fix with just a drop of Loctite per pedal pin and a little bit of time put in. The next thing I want to talk about is that the length of the pins makes some tricks a little bit harder on certain setups. And like I said earlier, this is something that's probably not going to affect very many people, but it affected me, so I thought it would be worth putting into the review. And for example, I'm talking about tricks like pedal stalls to rotating out on metal ramps. That was the one that specifically affected me. It just felt like it didn't want to work to do a pedal stall to rotating trick out like a pedal stall 270 Fufanu or 270 Ice Pick. Because the pins are so long, you're not resting just the pedal on the coping and the top of the ramp. You're resting just a couple pins on the top there. And when you go to rotate out, the pins just want to slide on the top of the ramp and not let it work. And you can't really get set solid in order to do the rotation out of the trick. But like I said before, this is something that's probably not going to affect very many people, and it could be something that's completely me or something I'm doing wrong personally. And the last thing is that they won't stay tight. But this is entirely my fault because I put grease on the threads when putting them into my cranks, thinking that it would prevent them from getting stuck on the cranks and not thinking about the opposite outcome of just them not staying tight. Every single session, I have to tighten these things up at least 2 or 3 times, and it has me regretting ever putting the grease onto the threads in the first place. And this is definitely something that you're not going to have to deal with if you buy these pedals. So that's really it as far as the bad goes with these pedals. I've had an extremely positive experience with these pedals over the past few months. They've taught me that I'm never going to ride unsealed bearing pedals ever again, and they've gotten me past my hatred for riding plastic pedals on my bike, and they've held up extremely well, much better than I ever thought plastic pedals would stand up to my riding. The pins on these pedals make them super grippy despite how dangerous they might be without shin guards or pants for that matter, and the sealed bearings on them make for an extremely smooth pedaling experience that, like I said several times now, has converted me forever really. And aside from the minor issues that I had with them as far as the pins loosening themselves, I would definitely recommend these pedals to someone who predominantly rides skate parks and trails. They would be great for anyone in those disciplines. And as far as street goes, I would say that these would also work well for most people in the streets, but could affect some because the length of these pedal pins could affect certain tricks. I don't personally do lucky grinds or pedal slides on ledges, so I can't say anything on that personally, but I have heard that some people file these pins down to make them shorter, and that could affect these tricks and make these pedals work great in all aspects of BMX for everyone. So overall, my experience with the Ezra Flats Pedal, which is only $35, is an extremely positive one. There is a reason that there has been a brand new set of metal sealed pedals in my room and not on my bike for the past month. And it's because these pedals have just been good enough to leave on my bike and I enjoy them. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up the review on these Ezra Flats Pedals. I have a link in the description below to where you can find these pedals if you do want to buy them. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want me to do more reviews, or you have any thoughts about these pedals, let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below as well. And if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and share it with a friend, because that does nothing but allow me to make more videos just like this one for you guys. So with that, I want to thank Robbie Taylor, Ezra, and Eastern for sending these out for me to review. I want to thank you for being here and watching, and we'll see you again for another video tomorrow. Goodbye.